National All-Star Academic.
You're done.
That's a good point, actually. I should think of more correctly. So let's play some quizzes.
National Academic Star.
Alright, so I have Illinois A and Texas A here.
Let's quiz.
Illinois and Texas A. I don't know exactly if this is the advantage final. It might not be, but Illinois so far has a perfect record, and Texas has one loss to New York. And I have you guys' names. Let's go ahead and do a buzzer check. Jacob. Okay. You guys ready to start? Okay. Toss-up 1. This hero accidentally killed the super hospitable King Kizikos on his wedding night after an escape from the 6-armed Earthborn giants brought him back to the city of Doliones. It's not Theseus, but a companion of this hero foiled Talos' attack on him by disorienting the automaton with Keres spirits. This subject of the epics by Valerius Flaccus and Apollonius of Rhodes...
Psyche.
No.
Of
Rhodes successfully plowed a field with a fire-breathing Kalkotauroi on a mission given to this hero on account of losing a sandal while carrying a disguised Hera across a river. Integral to that quest was a talking piece of wood from Dodona and the love of a daughter of Aeetes. For 10 points, name this hero the beloved of Medea who sought the golden fleece with the Argonauts.
Jason?
Yes. Bonus. One object supposedly holding this distinction was created by Francis A. Johnson. For 10 points each, what distinction is claimed by various oddball tourist attractions, including an object located in Calker City, Kansas, and one in Darwin, Minnesota that weighs over 17,000 pounds?
World's largest ball of yarn.
Twine.
Twine? Okay.
World's largest ball of twine.
Yes. The world's largest nylon twine ball is located in this city's Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum. Dolly Parton's Dixie Stampede and a massive Titanic replica and museum are found in this tourist trap in southern Missouri.
Oh, I think it's
Branson?
Branson, yeah, I've been there.
Branson.
Yes, another Titanic museum and different Dolly Parton property, Dollywood, are also found in this state's eastern city of Pigeon Forge. Elvis Presley's estate of Graceland is located on the other side of the state in Memphis.
Tennessee.
Yes, that's all 30.
Good.
Toss-up 2. During an attack on this city, people crowded into the Church of the Tides only for the balcony to collapse, killing many. This was the most important city taken by Grand Duke Algirdas after the Battle of Blue Waters. The aforementioned Christian church was built after the people in this city were baptized and...
Like Kiev?
Yes. Bonus. Bob Livingston withdrew his candidacy for this position in 1998 after the revelation that he had an affair. For 10 points each, name this position. The man who obtained it after Livingston withdrew was himself sentenced to prison in 2016 after revelations that he had sexually molested boys while working as a wrestling coach.
Like Speaker of the House.
Yeah,
sure. Speaker of the House?
Livingston said he withdrew his candidacy to be a speaker because he felt the revelation of his affair would harm attempts by the Republicans to impeach this president noted for his own sexual affairs.
Clinton.
In an attempt to challenge what he perceived as hypocrisy, this man offered $1 million to anyone who could produce unflattering sexual stories about the Republicans. He was shot in 1978 and is now permanently paralyzed.
78? I don't know.
Answer?
Johnson.
Larry Flint Jr.
Yeah.
20. Toss-up 3. When constructing the Born-Haber cycle for potassium chloride, the only exothermic steps in the cycle are the step corresponding to this value for chlorine and the lattice energy step involving the condensation of gaseous ions into the lattice. Chemical hardness can be approximated by 1/2 the difference between ionization energy and this quantity. This quantity increases for elements from left to right.
Electronegativity?
Say it again?
Electronegativity?
No.
There's a lot of things that the person will try.
Across a period, but there are many anomalies. Its values for nitrogen and beryllium are negative and thus smaller than for carbon and lithium due to a stability conferred by half-filled or filled orbitals. For 10 points, name this quantity equal to negative the standard molar enthalpy of electron gain for a gaseous monatomic element.
Electron affinity?
Yes. Bonus. Minor characters in this novel include Darius, who claims that a random cloud in the sky is God. For 10 points each, name this coming-of-age novel about Esperanza Cordero, a Latina girl who desires to escape the title location in Chicago.
House on Mango Street.
The author of The House on Mango Street, Sandra Cisneros, is an American writer of this ethnicity. A program studying the literature of authors of this ethnicity was controversially shut down in Tucson, Arizona.
Hispanic.
Prompt.
Mexican?
Yes.
Yeah.
In a controversial passage in the house on Mango Street, Esperanza is abandoned by her friend Sally and sexually assaulted during one of these events.
What?
Three times maybe?
No, I
It's like
think
a
that's
pizza.
right.
Answer?
Fair.
Power outages?
Carnival.
Oh,
I said
oh,
fair.
sorry.
Can we protest that?
He's
I'll
our
mark
captain,
it.
so his should take priority.
I heard your answer first, but I'll mark the protest.
Okay.
If whatever you heard first, that's not protestable.
Right, I'm referring to
Alright, sure.
what he said as being protestable, which is the power outage, right?
No.
Well, what is it we're asking to protest?
I was saying fair when he was saying whatever he was saying, and I said
So-
fair.
I heard
You're
power
ruling
outage.
the rule
I had
that-
power outage first, but if you want to protest power outage, I'll mark it down.
No,
What is,
no,
what,
okay.
what are you claiming is your ruling?
I ruled that power outage was the given answer.
Then
That's
we're
not-
not,
that's
then we're
not-
not protesting.
Okay.
We're just gonna have to.
Okay.
It's right. Well, this is
It's on the vote. That was
Yeah,
20.
20, yes. Execution and
Yeah, execute.
House on Main Street. Okay. Toss up 4. This painting was completed with the help of the artist's brother Benedetto Cagliari, who is shown inspecting a glass. No person in this painting is shown speaking, possibly alluding to the code of silence followed by its Benedictine commissioners. A digitally produced copy of this painting hangs in the refectory of San Giorgio Maggiore, where it was displayed before its seizure by Napoleon's army. The musicians at this painting's center are modeled on its artist and 3 Venetian painters.
Like wedding and Cana?
Yes. Bonus. Isotellus rex is the largest of these organisms ever discovered, measuring 27 inches long. For 10 points each, name these Paleozoic arthropods found in the Burgess Shale that are often used as index fossils. They are named for having 3 sections.
Yeah, trilobites. Trilobites?
The largest known arthropod is Jaclopterus, an extinct 8-foot-long one of these marine organisms. E. ramipes, one of these arachnid-like animals, is the state fossil of New York.
Okay, so like something about crabs.
Sea scorpions or eurypterids. Both trilobites and eurypterids died out at the end of this period, with which the succeeding period names the largest mass extinction.
Wait, so.
The succeeding this.
But-
It's Permian.
Yeah.
Permian.
Yes, that's 20. Here's toss-up 5. 2 answers required. A Newsweek letter writer punningly suggested that we lock up one of these men and give the other Descartes Blanche. In a 1971 speech, in explaining his lack of response to the other, one of these men recalled receiving a 55-page missive by someone I had never heard of. One of these men's students, Kenneth McCorquodale, defended him from the other in a 1970 paper. The feud between these 2 men centered on the question of whether a certain skill is learned or innate, which arose after one of them wrote a scathing 1959 review for the journal Language that ripped into the other's.
Chomsky and Skinner?
Yes.
Right.
Bonus. This activity is appealing to a man partially because he sees how impulse was converted into momentary figures for 10 points each. Name this activity that Robert Famel performs each weekday beginning at 9:30 in the Prince Heinrich Hotel. Famel is the protagonist of a German author's novel.
Yeah, I think billiards, playing billiards.
Yes, Robert Famel is the protagonist of Heinrich Boll's Billiards at 9:30. In the book, Robert refused to take the host of the beast, meaning he opposed this real-life political party.
Nazi?
Nazis.
A key image in the novel is that of this structure, which was built by Robert's father Heinrich and then destroyed by Robert while serving in the army during World War II. At the end of the novel, the family eats from a cake modeled after this building.
It's like a church. No, I don't know what it's called. It has a name. Did you say church get prompted?
Answer? I have St. Anthony's Abbey.
Okay, that's fine.
20.
I'd like to protest that.
Okay.
I think that answer should have been prompted.
Okay. Toss-up 6. After being threatened with torture, a guard in this play asks the king whether his pain lies in his soul or in his ears. In this play, a man is accused of taking bribes after he recounts how birds screamed and clawed at each other so he could not make out their language. A chorus in this play declares, "Wonders are many, and none are more wonderful than man," prior to the arrest of the protagonist. In this play, Haman lunges at his father, then stabs himself. Yes. Bonus. The original parts of this work were the Codex, Digest, and Institutes, for 10 points each. Name this collection of laws and juristic writings issued from 529 to 534 by a certain emperor. The project that produced this work was directed by Tribonian.
Yeah, just
Like
in
the-
Moore's law code.
Codis.
Yeah, it's
Corpus Juris Civilis.
Yes.
Sure.
The corpus was produced during the reign of this Byzantine ruler known as the Great.
Justinian.
Yes. A new legal code, the Ecloga, was later implemented by this Byzantine ruler, who was known as the Isaurian and noted for his firm support of iconoclasm.
I think we should, especially with the Y. So go with yours.
Answer.
Leo V.
I have Leo the Third. Yep.
You know it was a Leo. Yeah.
It's fine.
Well, he's Leo the Isaurian.
I have a score of 145, 35. Okay.
Yeah. I feel like when you got the chopsticks, get it from the paste on this part.
There's like nothing that's
Keep it up.
You're buzzing very well.
Thanks.
Once I actually get a toss-up on a painting description, because the musicians are actually notable for some random figure in the corner.
Good. It's decent. Yeah.
All right, the next toss-up will be 7, and the score right now is 145 for Illinois A, 35 for Texas A. Toss-up 7. A prime minister from this party raised eyebrows by giving peerages to those on the lavender list, including several businessmen thought to be corrupt. The alleged Clockwork Orange campaign was supposedly directed against a prime minister from this party who, according to the book Spycatcher, was thought to be a foreign agent. A Welsh member of this party was the controversial Aneurin Bevan.
Labor.
Yes. Bonus. This man used his hometown as the basis for the setting of his novel Eclipse for 10 points each. Named as author of a 1938 anti-war novel in which the protagonist, Joe Bonham, loses his arms, legs, and face while fighting in World War I.
That's Trumbo.
After becoming a screenwriter, Trumbo was a victim of the Hollywood blacklist that prevented former members, or those suspected of being a member of this party from working.
Yes. Communist Party?
Yes. This group of filmmakers, which included Trumbo, Ring Lardner Jr., and Lester Cole, was blacklisted after they refused to testify before the House of Representatives in 1947.
Hollywood 10.
For 30. Toss-up 8. MYF5 and MRF4 promote precursor differentiation into this tissue. Receptors in this tissue are the primary targets of pancuronium and other curare or curare
Muscles.
prompt.
Skeletal muscles.
Yes. This term describes points where the rank of the Jacobian is not maximal for 10 points each. Identify this term from calculus that is used to describe points where the derivative is equal to 0, and sometimes also to refer to endpoints and points where the derivative does not exist. Points described by this term are candidates for extrema.
Critical.
Yes, the Gauss-Lucas theorem guarantees that the critical points of a polynomial function lie inside this set with respect to the polynomial's roots. Given any set of points, this set is defined as the smallest convex set containing all of the points.
Smallest convex set. Just a domain. Power set.
Answer.
Power set.
Convex hull. This method, developed by Leonid Khachiyan, was used to show that linear programs could be solved in polynomial time. It works by enclosing the maxima inside of its namesake shapes as their volumes decrease to 0.
Triangulation. Defer. Triangulation.
Ellipsoid method or algorithm. 10. Toss-up 9. In one film role, this actor's character is memorialized with the lines, "He was some kind of man. What does it matter what you say about people?" That was a reference to this actor's role as corrupt cop Hank Quinlan. In another film role, this man's character notes that Switzerland's 500 years of democracy...
Wells.
Yes. Bonus. Sandy Koufax observed this holiday by not playing during Game 1 of the 1965 World Series for 10 points each. Named this holiest day of the year in Judaism, the Day of Atonement that completes the period of the High Holy Days that begins with Rosh Hashanah.
Yom Kippur.
At the beginning of the evening service on Yom Kippur, this declaration is recited in the synagogue. Its name means all vows, which refers to its annulment of all personal oaths made to God. Ashkenazi Jews who are married men wear this white linen robe on Yom Kippur. It can also serve as a burial robe.
What's the Jewish prayer shawl called?
Just say prayer shawl.
Prayer shawl?
Kittel. 20. Toss-up 10. In this novel's 11th chapter, The Arched Window, a character is horrified by the greed of an organ grinder's performing monkey. A laborer in this novel forces a young girl named Alice to walk...
Some giggles.
Yes.
Good.
Bonus. The quodlibet Il Sera Pour Vous by Antoine Benoit is based on this melody, for 10 points each. Named this secular tune popular in the 15th and 16th centuries. Scholars disagree as to whether Benoit or Guillaume Dufay was the first composer to write a Cantus Firmus Mass based on this tune. Answer. L'Homme Armé. This Franco-Flemish composer of the Missa Pange Lingua is best known for his two masses based on the L'Homme Armé melody. Yes. Josquin's Missa L'Homme Armé Super Voces Musicales makes heavy use of the mensuration type of this imitative musical technique. It titles a D major chamber piece that was paired with a gigue by Johann Pachelbel.
Okay, so just canon.
Yeah. Canon.
Yes, 20.
Alright, so
Halftime. Score is 215 Illinois A, 85 Texas A.
Alright, that's six months. I mean, like, no, this you don't need.
I could have found both Jason earlier, it's fine.
Oh yeah, I should pick
I should have some correct answers.
You guys.
It's probably true.
That up.
The distribution is still probably controlled there too.
Okay, guys.
Nah, look over here. We'll tell you inside. So
both of your answers are dead, right?
Ethan, there's gonna be a long toss. So
And his own world could be
yeah.
And is Geo lapsed yet?
Geo is not.
Oh, cool. Still coming. Cool. Cool and good.
Alright, are we all good now?
Yep.
Okay. And once again, the score is 215, 85. And here's toss-up 11. In 1950, Hillary Koprovsky tested an early version of this thing at Letchworth Village. Basil O'Connor defended the use of a version of this thing by saying that it went through unprecedented tests for safety. The contaminated production of this thing at Cutter Labs in 1955 resulted in 5 deaths. In 1956, Thomas Francis, Jr. of the University of Michigan proclaimed the success of this thing in a broadcast funded by Eli Lilly and Company.
Like thalidomide?
No. An oral version of this thing was developed by Albert Sabin, who was opposed by the March of Dimes Foundation, which supported the work of another researcher. For 10 points, Jonas Salk developed the first effective form of what drug that prevented the spreading of an infectious disease which paralyzed many children?
Polio vaccine?
Yes. Bonus. A panel of the Isenheim altarpiece depicts a sufferer of this disease since it was commissioned by a monastic order specifically founded to treat it. For 10 points each. Name this disease that spreads through fungus-infected rye and was often called St. Anthony's Fire during the Middle Ages. It may have been responsible for the behavior of the supposed Salem witches since many of its symptoms were convulsive.
Ergots, yeah.
Ergots?
I have ergotism, which is all underlined, but
Protest.
I'll mark the protest. This hallucinogenic drug was first produced by Albert Hoffman from ergotamine, the chemical that causes ergotism symptoms. It was controversially administered as part of the CIA's Project MKUltra.
LSD.
Yes. Various 20th century grain-related deaths were caused not by ergotism, but by fungicides containing this element. A vaccine preservative in which this element bonds with a thiol group was incorrectly claimed to have caused an increased rate of autism.
Isn't this mercury? Okay, that makes sense.
Mercury?
Yes, so 20 for now on that bonus, and a protest on the first part.
That's fine.
And the answer said was ergot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's toss-up 12. The Laughlin wave function is used to study this effect for filling factors of 1 over an odd
Hall effect?
prompt.
Quantum Hall effect?
Yes.
Good, right? I'm sorry, man. Nice job, too.
Bonus.
Does it say specifically the prompt about the question?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
And bonus. This term is named for a Hellenistic writer who claimed to have found an inscription on an island in the Indian Ocean revealing the gods to have been mortal kings. For 10 points each. Give this term for an approach to mythography that assumes or tries to find historical bases for mythical people and events. It can also refer to the process by which historical figures become mythical.
So, what's this called? I don't know, I'm sorry.
Answer.
Deification.
Euhemerism.
Yeah.
One of the most famous euhemerists, Heinrich Schliemann, believed ruins at Hisarlik to be evidence that this war between the Achaeans and a city led by Priam actually happened.
Troy's War.
Schliemann thought a vault near Mycenae was the tomb of this man, Agamemnon's father. He cursed his namesake dynasty by killing his brother Thyestes' sons and feeding them to him.
Atreus.
Yes, 20. Toss-up 13. A character with this name is tasked by the devil to plow 60 acres in half a day, but is helped by the devil's daughter and his future wife Lilith. That character with this name returned to his homeland, but left behind a namesake root popular among hoodoo magic users. A legendary African prince who was sold as a slave in America, but was renowned for his wit, had this name and was known as the Conqueror. This was the name of the descendant of the three magi, whose kingdom was legendarily in places like India or Ethiopia.
John.
Yeah.
Yes. That's first for John. Yeah.
Bonus. This poet of the 2011 collection Family Values was a favorite of Poet Laureate of the UK in 2009, but the honor went to Carol Ann Duffy for 10 points each. Name this contemporary English poet who closed her collection Making Cocoa for Kingsley Amis with the title poem stating, "I knew it wouldn't be much of a poem, but I love the title."
More.
Answer, it's Wendy Cope. Making Cocoa for Kingsley Amis contains a group of limericks summarizing this T.S. Eliot poem beginning April is the cruelest month. That the last limerick ends, I hope you'll make sense of the notes.
Wasteland.
Cope had previously missed out at becoming UK's Poet Laureate in 1998, after the death of this man who had held the post from 1984. His poetry collections include The Hawk in the Rain and Birthday Letters.
Ted Hughes. Hughes.
Yes, for 20. Toss-up 14. Michael Reynolds was told to produce photographs of this event. The morning of it, a planned multi-year performance art exhibition was set up at the Museum of the Moving Image by the team of Luke Turner, Nastya Sade-Ronco, and Shia LaBeouf. The interior department...
Trump's inauguration.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good job. Shia LaBeouf. Deep Shia LaBeouf knowledge.
Bonus. Answer the following about the condition of England question for 10 points each. This author raised the condition of England question in his 1839 pamphlet, Chartism. He promoted the great man theory of history and wrote a popular chronicle of the French Revolution.
Carlyle.
As part of the discontent giving rise to the condition of England question, this man's carriage was attacked in January 1817. In 1810, he publicly accused his wife, Caroline of Brunswick, of adultery and put her on trial.
George IV.
In response to the condition of England question, Parliament passed one of these laws in 1834 that only allowed people to receive relief from workhouses.
Poor laws. Yeah, poor laws.
30. Toss-up 15. In one of this man's poems, the aristocratic speaker notes, "It is so late that the dew soaks my gauze stockings as she waits for her unfaithful lover." The speaker of another poem by this author observes that by the gate the different mosses have grown too deep to clear them away, and that the paired butterflies are already yellow with August. This author of the Jewel Stairs grievance wrote, "Lifting my head, I watch the bright moon. Lowering my head, I dream that I'm home." In his short poem, Quiet Night Thoughts. Yes. Bonus. Systems with this property can exhibit the butterfly effect for 10 points each. Name this property of a dynamical system which displays extreme sensitivity to initial conditions. The swinging Atwood's machine and the double pendulum both have this property.
Chaos.
Yes. The behavior of chaotic systems can be displayed on one of these plots, which show the value of the attractor as a function of a namesake parameter. The features displayed on these diagrams can be of the pitchfork or period doubling varieties.
So these are correct. So what would they probably have
Answer. Bifurcation diagram. For a chaotic system, the value of this quantity, which represents the rate of divergence of close trajectories, is positive. This value, which can be determined using Oselodets's theorem, is named for a Russian mathematician. Answer. Lyapunov exponent. 10.
Okay, we sweep the last 5 questions.
Okay. Here's toss-up 6. Yeah, thank you. Here's toss-up 16. During the 2008 running of this event, many objected to the use of Randwick Racecourse in Sydney. Ramzi Youssef's Bojinka plot intended to assassinate a leader.
World Youth Day?
Yes.
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 Seems a little.
Bonus. This character is accompanied by his genius, which is his guardian angel, for 10 points each. Name this real-life person who, in a philosophical dialogue, is barred from heaven by St. Peter. This character then plots to use an army to invade and conquer heaven.
Oh, Julius.
Yeah.
Who's?
Yeah, Julius.
Prompt.
The second, right?
Julius II is the title character of the dialogue Julius Excluded from Heaven, which was written by this judgment, the author of Education of a Christian Prince.
Erasmus.
In Erasmus's Education of a Christian Prince, he argues that a ruling prince should be loved, as opposed to this author of The Prince, who claimed it was better for a prince to be feared.
Machiavelli. Yeah, Machiavelli.
Yes. 30.
Yeah, you said seconds.
Okay.
17. A leader of this country reassured Europeans by saying its leaders were sane, rational people even in our moments of anguish. A leader of this country sued former colleague Devon Nair for calling him a self-righteous know-it-all. In the 1970s, it produced numerous posters telling parents to stop at 2 children. This country banned Wired magazine after...
Singapore?
Yes. Bonus. In this poem, the speaker exclaims, "How terrible and brief was my desire of you," and notes, "In you the wars and the flights accumulated," for 10 points each. Name this poem that begins, "The memory of you emerges from the night around me," and includes the refrain, "In you everything sank."
Song of Despair.
20 love poems and a song of despair was written by this Chilean poet. Neruda's elemental odes include one describing this type of animal among the market vegetables, whom he describes as the catafalque king of my own ocean.
Fish.
I have tuna.
Okay.
That should be probably profitable.
Yeah, it's fine.
I'm gonna protest that.
Okay, noted. The answer said was fish.
Tuna is a That is accurate. Yes, it's true.
20 for now, and then protest on the last part.
Could we have a score check?
Yep. I have a score of 330, 185, and there are a couple of
10
bonus
points.
parts.
2 bonus
Protest
protest
that way, 1 bonus protest this way.
Yep.
Yeah.
And toss-up 18. This ensemble plays Johann de May's Lord of the Rings Symphony. A 6-movement piece for this ensemble includes movements called Lord Melbourne and Rufford.
A wind band.
Yes.
Yeah. Good job, because you're
That's
probably.
really good buzz.
Answer the following about stores in the U.S. for 10 points each. This company, the pioneer of the 5 and dime store, was the namesake of a building that was the tallest in the world from 1913 to 1930. A 1960 sit-in in Greensboro, North Carolina, originated in one of its stores.
Woolworths.
The Woolworth building was located in the city, which was also where Macy's department store was founded and where their flagship store remains to this day.
New York.
This man was the namesake of a massive department store in Philadelphia that contains a 12-story atrium and huge organ. A marketing innovator, he also served as Benjamin Harrison's postmaster general.
Commercial field.
Sure.
So it's Montgomery Ward. It's Montgomery Ward. I've heard this group before.
Answer.
Montgomery Ward.
John Wanamaker.
Oh yeah.
20.
Yeah.
Gigantic Ward. I've heard that group before.
Toss up 19. A man in this play who was interrupted while trying to kill an animal claims to have exterminated only half of a rat. A character in this play repeatedly asks for his dog, which culminates in his companion taking a toy dog and using it to strike him in the head. At the start of this play, a character pulls back the curtains to reveal a window that faces the sea and a window that faces the land.
And give.
Yes.
What's that thing?
Bonus. Answer the following about crazy productions of various operas for 10 points each. A 2001 English National Opera production of an opera by this composer featured drinking, drugs, and urinating on stage. The director accused opera critics of being weird and prissy after the audience booed that production of this composer's Don Giovanni. A 1949 production of this Richard Strauss opera, directed by Peter Brook, featured designs by Salvador Dali and engaged audiences. This opera includes the Dance of the Seven Veils. American audiences booed a 2009 production of this opera that moved the setting from the Alps to New York. In this opera, the title character Amina is thought by villagers to be both a phantom and also the lover of Count Rodolfo.
Could this be Mahal?
Yeah,
Was it
yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Answer. What? No, I have La Sonambula or The Sleepwalker.
Okay,
Probably good.
30. Sorry, 20 on the bonus. Yeah, my bad. And our last toss-up. This body contains a so-called mountain in a moat whose origin is unknown. This body contains a large system of northwest-southeast canyons that include Marcross Chasma and Serenity Chasma, in addition to Tardis Chasma, which bisects...
Oh, like the Mars?
Nope.
What?
Which bisects Gallifrey Macula. In 2016, scientists announced that a large dark area, informally known as Mordor, near the north pole of this body contains a cap composed of organic macromolecules called tholins, which are believed to have been formed by the reaction of compounds transferred to this body by its parent body, with which it is gravitationally locked. This moon is almost half the size of its parent body, and the two orbit their mutual barycenter, which was one reason that this moon's parent body was stripped of its planet status. For 10 points, identify this largest moon of Pluto.
Sharon?
Yes.
That's fine.
No, that's fine.
Appreciate that. I guess that's fair. Yeah, and also.
And final bonus. Identify the following about the artist Fitzhenry Lane for 10 points each. Lane is best known for his paintings of these things. A painting of one of these man-made objects by Rembrandt, that only by that artist, was stolen from the Gardner Museum in 1990.
Oh, ship, right?
Ship.
Yes, after his death, Lane was grouped into this American art movement, which gets its name from the painter's focus on light. John I.H. Bauer coined the name of this movement and included artists such as Alfred Thompson Bircher in it. Answer?
Luminary.
I have luminism. Several artists from this other school of American landscape artists, such as Albert Bierstadt, made luminist works. This movement was founded by Thomas Cole.
Hudson River.
Yes, for 20. Final score, 385-215, so the protests are moot. Good game, both teams.
I thought that was Geo.
In which case, so if you
Great job, guys.
Yeah, Geo that packet. Base geography. That's what
You have to
base geo
remember,
is not real geo.
current events and geography are one thing, so you only get, you usually get one of each, but not even always.
That was like basic history though.
World Youth Day was religion, actually, according to my class. Which makes sense, because it's an event of the Catholic Church.
Yeah, good luck,
Yeah,
guys.
yeah, that was a buzzer race at this level, which they won, but, I mean, you won that game.
Yeah.
It was tense for like over there.
Only protests on like all that not being counted for volleyball.
The classical Hall of Fame may be different.